Yes. What's happening, racing world? Welcome along to another Morning Post, Saturday morning, 10 a.m. That means we're here for the next hour or so, filling you in on everything that's good and great about this marvellous game. Brought to you by the Racing Post, of course. Sponsored by William Hill. Let's get into it, shall we? Like and subscribe. This is your chance to have a little shout out with each other out there. We've got a great community that watches the show. Happy Saturday. It's cooled down a little bit, isn't it? Typically British yesterday, were we all? Wishing October on. All got a little bit hot, didn't it? But summer seemingly has finally arrived, and it's having a big effect on the grounds out there. We're largely going to be concentrating, of course, on the action at Newbury, but we'll be visiting other tracks as well. There's even some summer jumping to preview as well for you. Some great guests on the panel, and let's have some fun. Like and subscribe down on YouTube. Anything on Twitter, X as it's now known as, hashtag The Morning Post. Dave Orton with you for the next hour or so. Don't miss Graeme Rodway's Pearls of Wisdom.
Good morning, Dave. How's things?
Things that you never think you'll say, but there I go, coming to you. How are you this morning?
Very well, yeah, very well. Last night was a good night. I missed the show, actually. There were champions, what's it called? Champions at
Full Gallop.
Full Gallop.
Thank you, Charlie Post. There's a reason why you're here.
Not at Full Gallop, just Champions Full Gallop.
Champions
Well,
Full
the
Gallop.
first front page of the Racing Post today, let's get it up. We will actually show you what's in the papers, but if the producers come to me, there you go. There you go. It's not just a clash of the Titans, of course. It's Irish Oaks Day at the Curragh. We'll be giving you a full meaty preview of that. But it is, of course, Champions at Full Gallop, or Champions Full Gallop, otherwise known as the much anticipated ITV series that premiered last night at 9 o'clock on ITV, and we're going to talk about that a little bit before we do anything else. Right, Post, I'm going to come to you first, because I know that you would have watched every minute of this.
I did.
Perhaps unlike the man sitting next to you. But there might be a reason for that as well. So look, let's get the chat going with this as well. What did you think of it out there? I've seen a lot of reaction, inevitably, on the social media channels. The Racing Post last night tweeted out, what did we make of it? Loads of you commented on that. Fair play, guys. And there were mixed reviews, I think, as we can say that. But this is like a template, guys, isn't it, of what's happened before. So this has become almost like a franchise. And now, Posty, one thing I know about Charlie is you're bang into these kind of early incarnations of these programmes. It was the Formula One that really got you going, wasn't it? What was that called again?
Yeah, Drive to Survive.
That's
I mean, like as in, which, as a sports fan like you and I are, as in I'd always had a passing interest in F1. But I thought the incredible thing about Drive to Survive was it kind of made you feel like you were right amongst it, and you got a real feel for the characters involved. Like there was I think it was in the first series where you had Christian Horner, which I didn't even realise that they did so much talking into the ear of one of the drivers, the Red Bull driver, I can't remember his name, he was struggling at the time, maybe Pierre Gasly or someone like that. And he was like literally telling him, drive the car faster. Like, as in there was no messing around with it, then it was like, just push the car. The data says you can drive and so you got a real sense of the characters involved, which I thought was very, very interesting. Now,
there's a reason why you're obviously saying that to me. So that was the template. And then, of course, we've had the Pep Guardiola-G, haven't we, at Man City, which started a whole spate of football behind the scenes. Even West Ham did one. I think almost every Premier club has got them now. But, of course, racing then thought, well, we'll get a piece of this action, quite rightly so. We had something called Horsepower, of course, which was with the Baldings, which a lot of people have really warmed to. I think you can get it on iPlayer now, can't you? King George Thrills and Spills light up the opening episode. Now, you can read this review, if you like, from Catherine McRae, our very own, who watches the start of the Champions Full Gallop, which aired, of course, last night on ITV1, and she sort of takes you through it. And, I mean, it starts on King George Day, doesn't it? And what we're going to sort of not critique it, guys, but we're going to sort of echo what everyone's saying. And this is a big moment, obviously. We have already had one, which was done by Netflix, I think, wasn't it? I remember speaking to Andrew Balding about that, and we had him on a show here in the studio and spoke to him, and Oisin Murphy, and great insight there. Now, last night, obviously, almost like the premiere of it this week, you know, lots of people that went to that, that was almost like well publicised, and the Racing Post had given it full wally as well. So, look, what did you make of it, first and foremost?
There were parts of it I really enjoyed. I'll probably get panned for saying it. There was a lot of presenter-driven chat on it, if you know what I mean. Like we flick from presenter to presenter, talking about racing, etc. I hope moving forward, what we get to see is more sort of the interaction between the competitors. Like some of the stuff in the weighing room that we had, where they talked about what they were going to do with Shishkin, the riders that were riding against Shishkin, and Gavin Sheehan's remarks about Hewitt when he kind of got on him and he almost said, oh, he's smaller than I kind of thought he was going to be. You know, we all know that Hewick isn't very big. Those sort of insights I thought were really interesting. Some of the jockey cam where you see Shishkin on the seat and that. But like I said, I hope we might get, what I thought Horsepower did really well was we got into the yard at Andrew Baldwin's and saw a lot of the insight. And again, I kind of felt like Paul Nicholls might end up as the Christian Horner style character, whereas everything in episode 1, which is fine, was quite lovey, you know what I mean, that everyone was getting on with everyone, and yeah, it just, I hope as they move through it that we get to see more of the nitty gritty, almost inside the weighing room, that how that manifests itself with the valets and the relationships, and that there's more of that than presenter driven chat.
Well, no one would know better about that than you, Charlie. And actually, what does happen then, G? I guess if ITV Racing gets one criticism, let's face it, it's won massive awards against mainstream sports. You know, it's Grand National coverage, rightly so, and we're very, very lucky to have it. We know that. That's the disclaimer out of the way. If it has one criticism that you read, a lot of people, and people say to me about it, you know, that aren't really into racing, and this is really what it's all about. How do we get people that have never seen it before, don't know much about racing, into it, G? It's that ITV is a little bit cheerleadery, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think unapologetically so. You know, that if you speak to Ed or some of the, you know, they want to bring a new audience into racing, and they believe they can do it by really being cheerleaders for the sport.
Rod Ascot, for example, everything's good in the world, everything's absolutely fine, you know, we're brilliant. Obviously racing has got its issues. It's not as bad as maybe people always make out. Indeed, Chris Cook in the newspaper this week made a very good point about that after we had Marcus Townend, the great Marcus Townend, came in and did a guest column that actually, you know, we still have 2 dedicated channels, a daily newspaper, and 1 in 4 days you can get it on ITV. Now that's ever so important, but we got a feeling there was a lot about ITV last night, didn't we? Rather than, we want to see fly on the wall stuff, isn't it? So perhaps as the series go on, we'll judge it towards the end. But
yeah, and look,
an explosive start, I think we can say
like
that.
you say, like ITV, it is right. They should be making it positive. You know, that's what we want to sell to the outside world to draw them in. But like I said, this as a prime time slot, it's a massive exposure for British racing. But we want to know about the characters involved, don't we? Really, you know, yeah. and the nuances that make our sport special. And like I say, that changing room environment, the weighing room, it is what we want to hear. And the insights from the jockeys I thought were excellent. Harry Cobden came out of it really well, you know, as in the character that he is. Bryony, even Nico's bits about, you know, the thing about being a jockey with Shishkin, you can be on top of the world thinking you're going to win this big race, and next thing, bang, you're on the floor and you're picking yourself up and you've got to go again. So I just hope that as we go through it, like I say, it's more about the people directly involved, trainers, jockeys, teams at home, and even the valets and people like that, than order about the presenters.
Let's get into that dressing room and just feel like we are a fly on the wall. That's what we'd like to see, isn't it? Anyway, okay, look, that was that. Champions Full Gallop. That's I think the first 3 episodes you can get on ITVX, guys. Talking of irony, shall we open up the William Hill floor and see who's trading with us this week? He's back. There he is. Look, a wry smile on his face. It's Jamie McBride, a William Hill top trader. We do this for you guys. If you're new to the show, we open up the floor. The markets, as we get into the previews of each race today, will transform in front of your eyes. Just quickly, Jay, you were probably trading on tennis in Argentina at 9 o'clock last night or something like that. But did you watch any of it?
I did watch the show, yeah. I'd largely echo what Charlie said. I think more sort of stuff that you wouldn't see day to day would be welcome. I think there was one bit where the jockeys were just talking down at the start, and which was interesting, of sort of who and how they were going to try and upset Shishkin, etc. And they cut away from that just to talk, and Nick Fitzgerald came on talking about what he thought about the race. So I thought more of that kind of stuff would be welcome going forward.
There you go. All right, great stuff. He's actually got an opinion, would you believe it, away from trading. Who knew? Right, this is the moment that people tune in for in the first 10 minutes or so. What is the William Hill boost? And again, to explain to anyone that's completely new to this, we take a big player in a race, usually a favourite, perhaps something slightly different. We had, of course, when the Euros was on, England to win plus City of Troy with doubles. We're concentrating on the Irish Oaks today, and the boost is Jamie McBride.
It is the favourite content. So obviously taking on Aidan O'Brien, Ryan Moore has been expensive at times already this summer, but we're going again 5-1 from 4-1 with the normal conditions apply.
Okay, lots said about that decision of Ryan Moore. David Jennings, who joins us on the show shortly indeed, guys, who not just give us the Irish angle, but to join us for the Saturday previews, I'm sure. DJ will be chipping in as normal. Can't wait for that. He did a piece on the Post I saw about Moore rarely gets it wrong. What do you reckon? Got Port Fairy in there, of course, the Ribblesdale winner. We've got French form coming in. We'll be getting stuck into that for you down the line. And Ryan Moore, has he got it right? Or Ryan Moore, depending on what part of the country you're from, like Jamie. Let's move on, shall we, and have a look at the papers. And we're going to have some fun now as well. Clash of the Titans, as I've already showed you. Look at that. Yes, Willie Mullins, fascinating runner in the Irish Oaks. Is he trying to encroach now the insufferable all-conquering trainer on the classic flat game? Ryan, is he on the winner? Ask Chris Cook, page 2, the front runner. One of many questions on another hectic Saturday. It is a hectic Saturday, isn't it? Which we'll be getting into. And a reminder, Mark Landon and the team, Lango, after the Euros, lying in a dark room somewhere on a beach doubtless, has done the big kickoff. It comes out for you. What date is that? August the 5th. Just as I'm going off to the beach, actually. Well, that'll be a good read. It Ain't Two has an almighty advantage, but that doesn't mean she won't be beaten, says Robbie Wilders, the anti-postman, with Richard Burt chipping in there, one of our top previews in the paper. Bowens, send 2 as Yarko in search of 9th success. Of course, it's Summer Plate Day, says Robbie Wilders and Birchie at Market Rasen. Mullins versus O'Brien 2 as Tower of London and Vauban clash. Cannot wait for that. Conor Fennelly gives you the lowdown. Irish Oaks, if you want to get a smart view, this is the recent brainchild of Keith Melrose and the team here at the Racing Post. Keep it simple. Who comes out on top? 90 out, 8% for the boost content. There you go. That boost is now live, guys, on the site and the app as well. Johnny Deneen, one of our regular contributors, not just to the paper, but also on the show on Saturday. What's he gone for? Something. Oh, yeah, the Curragh. Shimmy Jimmy at the Curragh. I remember reading that last night, actually. All right, Castle Gandolfo says Keels looks well worth another visit for O'Brien. There is the sizzler himself, Spirit Mixer, the player of the day. You'll notice on the app and the website. He's gone for Kind of Blue in the Hackwood Stakes. Frankie de Burley, you can see it all there. Get a read of the sizzler himself. Keels having a Saturday off, and as is Tom Siegel, as Keith Melrose steps into the price-wise seat, as often is the case. Hanalia for Johnny Murtagh, and His Highness the Aga Khan is the player in the Classic at a price for Keith. All right, we're off and running on the Morning Post. Who wants some race previews then? Where to bet on this hectic Saturday? We're right in the peak of the summer season now. So much to shake a stick at. And we're going to start off with a race that's rather cut up, Jamie McBride. It's the Steventon Stakes, the 150. Last year's winner, Al Azi, is in there. Deserted, however, by Jim Crowley for the favourite. Still favourite. Bigger than he was yesterday is Al Yanabi, the 3-year-old.
Yeah, this is our top price guarantee race, first race on ITV, and obviously it's not the most exciting of betting heats, but I just quickly topped up what we've been best priced each of the horses, and it adds up to 97%. So we're not giving ourselves much chance in the opener. And Al Azi is clearly the worst result, one of the worst of the day, alongside Boom Boom, which we'll come to later. So we'll need him beat. And I guess for the multiples, etc., kicking off, Al Yanabi will be an important one. So we'll be cheering on the non-Hamdan horses in this race.
Thanks, Jay. All right, then, top price guarantee for you out there. And 10 to 11 is bigger than a lot of people thought. At the start of the week, there were 13 entered, G. Now we've cut up this race. Last year's winner, now 7-year-old Al Azi. I think only 2 of his career rides has he not been ridden by Jim Crowley. Jim deserts him for Al Yanabi, who is stepping up in trip, can be a bit keen. How are we playing this? Do Shadwell hold the key? They're the questions.
Well, I think they do, but it's the prices, isn't it? When you look at it, and I didn't think Al Yanabi would be anywhere near this short when I looked at the race earlier in the week. I thought that Al Azi was the clear form pick, and they would be maybe a lot closer together than they are. So when I saw Al Azi yesterday was 4-1, I was just like, well, that's the wrong price, because he's the best horse in the race, isn't he? No doubt about it. If they all turn up and run their best races on what we've seen so far, Al Azi wins, doesn't he? So, but yet he was 4-1, 7-2. He's coming to now 11-4. Obviously, a few people are seeing the way that I do. Al Yanabi needs to improve, but he's going to improve, you would have thought. I mean, he's finished 5th in the Guineas, finished 5th in the St James's Palace, shaping like he'll improve for a step up in trip. Jim Crowley prefers him, as you say, which you would think is a big tick in the box. But Al he still sets a good standard, Dave.
He does. Of course, he was beaten by... he beat Phantom Flight in the race, who now debuts for George Scott, Isla Jura connection. Bahrain on the map, no doubt. He wears a hood postie. Looking for pace in this race. There's not a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he did make the run in last year when he was second, didn't he, Phantom Flight?
Was that through sufferance?
Potentially, but to me, he's the one I like in this. You know, as in James Horton's a good trainer, but change of trainer might have freshened him up. He's been gelded. He's got a hood on. You feel like that they're mean in business.
You like George Scott?
Pardon?
You like George Scott?
I don't think he's a bad trainer.
On a personal level as well?
Wouldn't really know him on a personal level.
Right. I'm just curious.
No.
All right, just curious. Now that you're
Is that
dipping
how you
into
form
the
your
flat
betting
world.
opinions?
No, I wonder whether you might have another 2-year-old to sell him down the line or something like that.
No. He's a nice lad. But yeah, Al Yanabi I thought was too short. Al-Azi is a good horse, but he is moody, isn't he? And he's first time out this season.
Is he moody? This is a good point in case, isn't it? Because William Haggis thought he was the apple of William's eye, I think, before Baid came around, you know. They gelded him, didn't they? Do you remember? He was called some almighty names by a lot of you out there, and maybe the likes of you.
Well, he looked like a Group 1 horse. He was hot favourite for a Group 1, wasn't he? Was it the Coronation Cup where he was beaten by a pile driver?
We said that in tandem, so shocking what a result it was.
Then he seemed to turn into a complete loon and just throw races away. And then last season, suddenly he got his act back together and started to go through with his... So which Al is going to turn up?
I knew this was going to be a good show for you. You got Al Yanabi right, which is not easy to say, as I've just proven, and Al-Azi. I was worried when I threw to you there that you were just going to muddle them into a couple up the Shadwell horses. Should they be coupled up, these Shadwell horses? A lot of people are talking about these coupling up, aren't they? It happened in France and America as well.
It'd be dull, wouldn't it?
But, well, right, the main reason why I point this out, I was doing a preview of the race yesterday, and this reminds me a little bit of Maljoom and Goodwell. At Trials Day, go back to Ascot before the meeting before the Royal. And I spoke to William Haggis about Maljoom going for the Summer Mile last Saturday, and he goes, they won't take each other on. Well, of course, they did take each other on when they were both coming back. Now, one was ready and one wasn't.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting that's what's going to happen today?
I might be suggesting that. The market, Jay, is not suggesting that Al-Azi is just going to need this run, is it?
No, he's strong. Like I say, Al-Yanabi's a little bit weak, and you can see why. I kind of agree with G-Rod that his form doesn't actually equate to being odds-on yet. It's just people believe the stepping up and trip and the fact that he's had less race than the others is the key to it.
Do you think the step up and trip is what he wants?
Well, on the Dams side, there's lots of mile 4 there. If you can see that quite obviously.
Yeah.
If you have a bit of a digger deep, there's a lot. But of course, Too Darn Hot is throwing up a lot of middle distance horses. You probably know about that.
Too darn hot, yeah. I mean, he's a side.
You're going to buy one of them
well.
to make massive profit on it?
I suppose I wouldn't be against the idea.
You've got a bit of a tan, by the way. Is that because the Blue Point profit's going well, is it?
To
we
be
haven't
honest,
seen the Blue Point, have we?
The tan is because at the moment the wife is all in for doing the garden, so I've been out digging beds, mate, in the Syrian heat.
It's I guess the sun shines on the right.
So glamorous.
So, well, you would think he'd have been saying Barbados and the like.
Yeah, it's nothing as fancy as that. As in, if only, to be honest. There's no time at the moment to go
Reinvesting.
away. We're going to start reinvesting, yeah.
That is going to happen. You've got a target on your back now, of course, because all that. If you don't wondering what on earth we're talking about, Charlie dipped his toes into the pin hooking. Do we still call it?
I think so. Yeah.
We can call it pin hooking.
Yeah.
So you bought a yearling, you trained them, broke them in, which is what you do anyway with jumpers.
Yeah.
And then you went to Newmarket, and I remember you were in the show, and you drove up afterwards, didn't you, to Newmarket to get ahead.
Yeah.
And to have a little scout out of it, and it went well, didn't it? You had the sell topper.
We didn't have the sail topper.
Wasn't it?
No, it was second top.
Well, it's the story of your life.
Well, hey.
What a Welsh national.
Yeah.
But so who was the sale topper?
We're not here to review my life.
Who was the sale topper?
It was the horse that the
Have we seen
Galileo.
it yet, is what I mean?
He ran at Sandown. He finished 4th or 5th.
Doesn't always work out, does it?
No.
Doesn't.
What's this thing called? Do we know?
He's not named yet.
Oh, he's not named yet.
They're
He's
taking
with
their
Charlie
time.
Appleby, yeah.
But it's fair to say that Shape Hammond loved him, didn't he? So yeah, all right. So anyway, we digress slightly.
Yeah.
But my point is saying a lot of people pigeonhole Poste and Batch and all that lot as just jump jockeys. They're not. So let's get a tip from you, and we'll judge you on that.
Phantom Flight.
You really think he's just going to nick it?
I just think this race, like I said, I couldn't have any interest in the favourite at the price. I'm quite happy if he goes and wins the race, but I'm not completely convinced of Marno Quarters. I didn't think he looked like he was screaming out for it at Royal Ascot last time. You know, I just thought it was he ran fine, didn't he? Like I didn't watch. Did you watch the race and go, that's a horse that if he goes up in trip, he's definitely going to win next time?
We went to King George together last year.
Yeah.
And we watched that Rosanian race.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which
was
was
a
the form
cracking race.
I backed him in that, and he travelled so well for a long way. So he's a bit of a project of mine, Al-Yanabi. I've been waiting for a good horse to come out. I don't think he was scratch surface. I think the biggest tick in his box is that he's got Owen Burrows as a trainer, who is, I respect big time.
Couldn't disagree with that. But what I'm saying is, like, are you happy at 10 to 11 to bat
against Al-Azi?
Do you think the extra quarter mile is going to make the difference?
I will be shocked if anything bar the two Chabois horses win. Am I right? Am I wrong? Let me know out there, people. You haven't tipped.
Al-Azi.
You're going to go for the 7-year-old that's probably going to...
At the prices.
That's probably going to need the run.
At the prices.
At the prices.
He's
well, he has
big.
been backed. What was he yesterday? 7-2, wasn't he? On the
He's still too big. I mean, I would have him a lot.
Can we get on with this? What are you backing?
I think if the Fav goes even money, I'm definitely playing. I'm even quite interested at 10
I think he will go. I think
he'll win. The key will be Jim Crowley's hands.
It always freaks me out when you
Never mind Champions Full Gallop. This is fly on the wall stuff.
Even the producer after you did that is saying, let's move on. Like,
because I'm...
Yeah.
Okay, right. We did 5 runners and we've gone on forever. Yeah. But now we've got a belter of a handicap coming up for you. It's over the mile 6. And we've got some Royal Ascot form here. We've got some last time at Ascot form. We've got some Northumberland plate form. Jamie McBride, what is hot? Paul Keeley put up Spirit Mixer today. I'm imagining that's blue all over the place.
It is, yeah. He's one of the two for good money. Spirit Mixer and Dancing in Paris is the other one, who were both kind of halved in price from where they were after final decks on Thursday. And notably weak is Pridwen, who was sort of, everyone put in 7-2, 130 on Thursday, looked really short. We were 6-1 all day yesterday against the 7-2 and 130. Didn't lay as much as I would have liked, and he is weaker still today.
That's Pridwen, of course, who actually running the Ascot Gold Cup. You've got the likes of Shagpile in there, Temporize, Sleeping Lion as well. All the good old stayers, and Nakib, who looks like he's being backed. This could indeed, of course, it could be a big hour or so for William Haggis as well. Anyone like Nakib?
Yeah, I thought it was between Nakib and Kyla Lockouch, and I ummed and ahed between the two yesterday when I was having a good look at the race. I'm a little bit worried that the money's now come for Nakib this morning, and Kyla Lockouch is a little bit easy because I've gone for Kyla Lockouch to continue his improvement. He was so impressive when he won at Salisbury, and a really good time from a decent horse of Henderson's. And then last time he stayed on really well to finish third in the Ascot Stakes over 2.5. Yeah. I mean, he's just a typical Hughie Morrison improver. His dam was Quiz Mistress, who Morrison trained to win 3 listed races.
Same colours.
Same colours. He just looks like the horse with loads and loads of upside in the race. I'm quite surprised to see Spirit Mixer so short now. I think that's an awful price. I know that Kills tipped him, and when he put him up, he was 12-14 to 1. I think 11-2 on him. He's really well handicapped on his best form, but it was an awful long time ago. And yes, he ran probably better than his position suggests last time, because it was a really good time, the Northumberland Plate. It was a course record time, in fact, that one smooth operator recorded. But I backed a couple of horses out of that race who also ran good times in that race last week. Zoffy was one of them, and the horse of Hugo Palmer, Solent Gateway. They both ran in a hot handicap last week at Newmarket, and both were beaten out of sight. So I don't know, there's something a bit freaky about that Northumberland Plate race. The time is off the charts quick, and to me, a horse like One Smooth Operator running that sort of time just didn't make any sense. And when something don't look right, it usually ain't right, and I think that Spirit Mixer's far too short now.
You just summed yourself up there in a sentence, which was marvellously played. Now let's do what we want Champions Full Gallop to do. We actually sat down, didn't we? I said, "What have you napped today?" And you're seeing the ball big on this race, and you said, "I'm worried about the money for Nakib," but you said then you retorted with, "Doesn't Nakib always get backed?"
Exactly. I feel like he's a bit of a talking horse, isn't he, with his pedigree and stuff. I mean, like, you could argue he was unlucky last time, but he was still a long way back, runners, wasn't he? You know, like, as in...
Yeah, he was beaten a long way, but he did have an impossible task. Like, he dropped him right stone last, wasn't he? And then he did come through.
So you think with a more sensible ride?
Well, I tipped him and
This is what we want.
I tipped him and backed him last time, and I couldn't believe where he was after 2 furlongs. I was like, we might as well throw away your money. I mean, you're never going to win from there, Nakib.
Yeah, if you go back to Noel Muirless, which is a mile 6 handicap at Ascot last October, I think it was, he got a similar sort of ride that day. I thought they might have been riding him for stamina or something like that, and he sort of flattered a little bit. That was the day, I think, when limitations started to appear. It took him a long time to break his duck as well, but he's a strong travelling horse.
He did finish third in the Jockey Club Stakes, which was what, Group 2, Group 3?
His pedigree's there, he's a talented horse.
Yeah.
And he just need things to go his way, I think. I've got to be honest, I'm with you. I'm surprised to see Dancing in Paris as short as it is. I actually wrote that race up for the Post last Saturday. That was just at Ascot, and Kieran O'Neill brought him. It was his first run, and it's Ian Williams. It's stayers, isn't it? I get that. They're striking while the iron's hot. He wandered about a little bit in the closing stages, suggesting he was idling a tad. But this is definitely tougher.
It is. I like the horse. As in, I must admit, when I went through the race, I agree. I didn't expect to see him as joint favourite. He was a good bit bigger when I looked at it yesterday earlier on in the day. But I just think it's the going up in trip again. You know, I thought they probably went a good gallop at Ascot last Saturday. It was a bit of a collapse, and he kind of travelled through there well, and then, like as you say, wandered around a bit. But I thought he was well on top at the line for all the winning margin was narrow.
There you are.
But that was a mile 6. I thought for all the world, the further he went, you know, he never looked like he was going to get past through the last furlong. I thought this track, the extra 2 furlongs, there's scope for him to do that. He's still at the right end of the handicap. But I completely take on board your comment. He is going to have to step up again because this is a deeper race, isn't it?
I've got a lot of time for Ian Williams and his stayers. Yeah, like a lot of people.
And the horse are going good. I mean, had a great Saturday last weekend.
I thought he'd be 5 to 1ish, and I don't know. Anyway, so William Hill, respect him. What do you respect in this race? Let us know. Are you with B? And I don't know. This is Carlo Lockout's time to me as well. Let's move on. Let's get the pace up, shall we? And we've got the Hackwood coming up next. We step into group company, and this is an interesting market, isn't it? This looks like Jamie McBride. We have one that is being very well backed here, and it's 3-year-olds against elders. Here we go again.
Yeah, obviously a sample size of 1 of the July Cup suggests the 3-year-olds had their limitations exposed, but punters are keen on elite status. Yeah, they're favourite to flip-flop. But regional is still strong. It's a case of the front 2 being backed against the others, so I think we're going to need the front 2 beaten to make profit here. One at a bigger price we're going to keep a little bit on side is Kind of Blue.
Can see that. I'm nodding away. Kind of Blue, I think, is perhaps the horse you might want next year out of all of these lot. 2 runs unbeaten into the Commonwealth Cup, and typical James Fanshawe traveller. It would be interesting, this. Let's start with you, Charlie, because again, you're seeing the ball big in this.
Yeah, elite status for me. Like I love the horse. You know, he was a good juvenile, but he always looked physically like he had the scope to really progress from 2 to 3. And I thought his performance on his reappearance was excellent. I mean, I think it was a course record time at the track. I fancied him big time for the Commonwealth Cup. I thought he'd beat Inisherin, and he was a late withdrawal. I suppose there is in the back of your mind that slight doubt about that he has this issue where he knocks his joint, which is what he did before Royal Ascot. So you would argue that potentially for Carl Berkey, he's not the easiest to train. Does that affect his prep? You know, but I think if he's here and he's at peak form, which you would imagine if he's pitching up in this car, must be completely happy with him.
The market is screaming
I just think
he's ready to roll.
The division is weak, isn't it? And it's crying out for something to kind of come out and dominate. And I think this horse does have the potential to do that.
Yeah. Just this moment you said that, they just pushed it out to 11 to 4, which is what the beauty of this absolute judge, Charlie, as they're all saying out there. Lake Forest, it was one of the eye catchers of the meeting for me at Royal Ascot. He trapped in that final furlong behind Inisherin. It was the first one of the season. A few people I know that had a good look at him in the paddock, and we'll take this with a pinch of salt, if like, so he still didn't look quite right in his coat. I think he's come on here. There was a chance they were going to take him to France. I think they've honed in on this. At 11 to 2, I'm very tempted to have a play here. There's a lot of pace on as well. It should all set up. The only thing that worries me, and I'm not a massive subscriber, I don't know about you guys out there, to the bounce theory. He's had enough time, I think. Was that a little bit too good to be true? And Inisherin, I know Newmarket might not have been his bag last week, but I was expecting a little bit more from him.
You're just wary of horses sometimes that that are flattered like this, they kind of sit off it and they make rapid headway very late in the race, but they're never really in it. Would that be?
Yeah, there was.
Do you
late
get sucked in by that or
we used to
not?
call them, didn't we, or something like that? That was the saying here at the Poste that spread around, I think, as well. Sometimes it looks a bit too good to be true. What was the bell horse in the Bunbury Cup last week? Carry the One. He did basically what he did at Ascot on a quicker track. So it was a little bit too good to be true. So I'm just worried that Lake Forest might fall into that trap. Has Lake Forest just been solid, Jay? It hasn't moved at all.
It's slightly weak, if anything. Like I say, the front two are the real two solid ones. So everything else in comparison has been a touch weak.
Yeah, okay. So the movers here, guys, are Elite Status and Kind of Blue. I think I've seen them go in a bit. Looks like Diligent Harry is coming in for a bit of support. And he got last year's winner as well, Comanche Falls, who's now a 7-year-old, but did it as a 6-year-old. Let's, of course, talk about regional. A lot of people would have fancied him if he'd have run in the July Cup, but I know a lot of those tipsters are now sort of jumping off him. It's one of those weird paradoxes, isn't it, where you should just stick with it, right, G? So are you a regional fan?
Well, he is a Group 1 horse, isn't he? In a Group 3 race, no doubt about it. He's won a Group 1, and he was second in a Group 1 behind the Aussie sprinter. So take the Aussies away, say they weren't allowed to come. He'd have won another Group 1.
Over the 5,
beaten the British, over 5. He's probably better over 6.
Well, Ed Bethel straight away in his interview, I think it was on Sky Sports Daily Moore, said, I think I got him in the wrong race. And that was, you've just finished second in a Group 1 Ed. You know, it was a successful week for Eddie, very good trainer. This was the horse that took him to the next level. Does he like to boss races? That would be, is he going to find a bit pace pressure here? That would be my
I have a feeling that he might peak for that Haydock race again. The Sprint Cup might be his race.
If you look through the previous winners of this race, it does seem to be that, obviously, it's the next Group 1, isn't it? The sprint, but this is the real prep run for that, I think.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's going to be short of fitness because it was the July Cup last week and he was all systems go for that Group 1. But I do wonder if he might run well without winning, like he did in the King's Stand, like he did in his previous run.
Yeah.
I see elite status, but I do not think this 3-year-old crop are the strongest.
Johnny Deneen has gone. I just see him flesh up there. What price is Twilight Calls? Johnny Deneen it looks at things, very black and white, like a lot of us should do. We always often afterwards you go just staring us in the face. Does look like he's been screaming for the step up, but there must be a reason why Henry Cantley, who would be as good a trainer of sprinters that I've ever come across, must have been. He's waited ages to do it, sort of thing. He's a 5 furlong specialist, isn't he? Has he just turned into that sort of horse that might be?
Yeah, and is he a late headway monkey?
A lot of people would be calling him that.
He keeps getting in a mess at the start, doesn't he? Yeah. I mean, Ryan Moore's rides him a lot, and I've spoken to it a lot. And Moore keeps saying, if this horse breaks, he's got a serious chance. But he never seems to break. He always misses the break. And if you miss the break in sprint, especially a top class one like this, you're always on the back foot.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hackwood tips coming up. I'd love to know what the community are saying about this race, because are you just looking at this and thinking, guys, it's just regionals race, just go for it? Just one quick word about elite status. Ground? It's been kept away from fast ground, I think.
I think the ground would be fine.
You think it would just be fine?
Yeah, it was good ground when he won here back in May.
Someone go on your members club and check the quotes, please, for me, will you, on elite status, and see if you can see anything Carl Berkey about the ground with him. I've got a feeling there might have been something about it. I've just got it in my head. I might be completely wrong. It's going to be a belter, this, and we should hopefully find out a bit more about the 3-year-olds. For what it's worth, I'll be taking Lake Forest and Kind of Blue. I'll just be chancing them, I think. Elite Status is a bit short for me now, but you're big on him.
Yep.
And you are big on?
I like Diligent Harry at the prices. I think if you go back to his run 2 starts ago at York, he was beaten a neck by Millstream, who won the July Cup. Should have been a Ring was second, who's won a Group 3 in Deauville. I think that's really, really good form. And last time out he was disappointed in Ascot, but that was back over 5 furlongs on quick ground. I think going back up to 6 furlongs, if he can reproduce that Millstream form from York, there's no way he can be a double figure price. So yeah. Diligent Harry is the value for me. But I do like Lake Forest as well. If there's going to be a horse that improves and blows the race apart, he might be the one.
He was back to Ascot as well, we should say. This is Tony Bloom, of course. The Brighton.
You want 2 picks then, G-Rod?
Well, I'm having Diligent Harry.
He's allowed
at
2
the
picks.
But the horse that excites me most in the race is Lake Forest. But Diligent Harry is the bet.
I said 2, and you threw him under the bus.
Pardon?
I said 2.
You've got to pick one. I mean, basically, you're not sure if you're picking 2.
Well, I just like the prices, and I think I fancy my chances if I back Lake Forest and Kind of Blue. There you go. All right. You're not happy with that?
You wanted Shadwell's coupled in the first, and now you want 2 in this 10
Trying to come back on the blue point, isn't he? Let's face it, viewers, that's exactly what he's trying to do. He will be fighting a losing battle until the show is over. The fact that James's Delight is out, by the way, Clive Cox's other run, the recent very good sprinter in France, shows it is drying up all the time at Newbury, as is to be expected. Shall we move to the Curragh? And we have got, of course, it is the Barberstown Castle Sapphire. I can still see that. I don't really moan that I squint at the screen. Well, I get that, but you don't want me in glasses. G-Rod, I haven't seen you in your goggles for a little while. Have you got contacts in these days?
Yeah, I've switched to contacts now. But when I do wear my glasses, looks like I've been on the beach, doesn't it? Because they're those old man ones. They're the old man ones that start off normal and then they go really dark.
It used to happen in the studio. Yeah. It would the light would come up and his glasses would sort of fill up.
Yeah, brilliant.
You'd be reflect his mood.
Very much so. Let's face it, it's always a dark mood in here, isn't it? When's DJ joining the show? That's what a lot of you will be asking. And I imagine, as the Curragh comes into play, our Deputy Irish Editor, there he is, looking nice and trim and like he's enjoying a good summer. Is that the case, DJ?
Well, the trim bit isn't. No, the trim bit is definitely false. No, not trim. But yeah, enjoying the summer. Been a few weeks since I was on with you, actually. I was at a wedding last Saturday, and I think the week before I was off. So yeah, it's been a while, Dave. I've missed you, kind of.
Yeah, indeed. I've missed you more, DJ, that's for sure. And welcome back. Welcome back to the Morning Post Shores. Talk us about the weekend coming up then. I mean, it's all about the Curragh today, I guess, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and that Irish Oaks market, like we'll chat to Jamie later on, it is bonkers. I've never known a Group 1 market to change so markedly in a couple of hours as it has this morning. It is mental, like Johnny Dineen's column in the Rasen Post today, 20-1 freely available about You Got To Me. I think You Got To Me, I think she's 8s now, best maybe. Port Fairy is out to the guts of 10s on the exchanges. It's just mental. We'll talk about that later, but I always think when you see market movement that much in a classic, it just makes it all the more intriguing, to be honest with you.
Well, the Brits are invading here, DJ. We'll come to you on your thoughts in the Sapphire shortly. Jay, talk us to us about this market. Of course, Believing, who ran so well at Royal Ascot, is a hard favourite.
Yeah, like you hinted at, the Raiders are the ones for money. It's another race where the front end of the market's really strong. Believing's rock solid, 11-8. Makarova's holding her price, and there's also been good money for Beautiful Diamond. She's been as big as 13-2. So obviously they've been back to the exclusion of the Irish horses.
Very good chance of a big Carl Burke sprint double then, of course. Elite Status trained by Carl as well. DJ, let's lead with you here. 11-8 for you, or...?
No, taking on Believing. I fancy She's Quality. Put her up in the paper today in the Irish tipping section. There was just something about her last time at Tipperary. I know she was 4-9, and on the rating she was entitled to win every bit as well as she did win. But just that real 5 furlong sprint track at Tipperary, it's probably apart from maybe, I don't know, Bellewstown or somewhere, it's the sharpest 5 furlong sprint track in Ireland. And I just thought she looked electric. She was in her comfort zone the whole way. And, even when you go back through her form, even from last year, Jack Davison brought her over to Newbury for a maiden, and she absolutely bolted up. And, there was plenty of winners in behind her. Likes the Romantic Style, who I think is rated at guts of 110, I think finished 7th that day. So it was strong form. I think with sprinters, it takes time to get to that kind of concert pitch level of really top-notch sprints. And it's taken She's Quality a little bit of time to get there. Jack Davison won this a couple of years ago at Mooney's. I think She's Quality is better than Mooney's. Nice. We're going to find out today if she is or not. I think she's good. I think at the prices, I think she's the value here.
Irish prize staying at home then. Sprinter in rip-roaring form for DJ. Are you a believer?
I am.
Kel Surprise. Are we just going to keep it as simple as that?
Yeah.
For George Bowie?
Yep.
Highclere?
I think she's the best horse in the race. I thought her 2 runs at Ascot were great. You'd argue the run on the Saturday it probably came a bit too soon. She was maybe not quite as good as she was on the Tuesday. She's been freshened up since. Ryan Moore on board, yep. Yeah,
OK, all right. And the power of more, which we're about to see. Jamie McBride, it's just come to you quickly. We gave you a good nod, believe it or not, Jay, on the show last week because Johnny Simpson was talking about your nap. Makarova, of course, which landed in the Coral Charge, of course, wasn't it, at Sandown. Are you with her today?
I think at the prices, I do prefer her at the prices to Believing. Obviously, Believing finished ahead of her in the King Charles race at Ascot, but Makarova put up an improved performance at Sandown. So I think definitely at the prices, I'd I'd prefer to be on Makarova.
All right, G-Rod.
I've backed Twilight Jet, a massive price.
25s.
25s. Ran well at the course 2 runs ago behind Aesop's Fables. And last time out was beaten in a handicap. Caught my eye that Colin Keane has booked for Michael O'Callaghan, is that his name?
Yep.
The yard is flying, and the yard's got a really good record when Keane rides. And if he runs to that form of 2 starts ago at the Curragh, it was a really good time. He could definitely place, maybe win. So Twilight Jet at 25.
All right, okay. Colin Keane, no bad thing in the saddle. I must admit, I thought Beautiful Diamond at 9-2 was rock solid. I was expecting a bit more from her at the start of the season. She started off, was it Palisade she started in? Do you remember? And when that blanket finish. I think Carl's just so good with his horses.
He doesn't mess around. When he sends one to Ireland, like that it's usually worth taking note. Yeah,
I think 9-2 is very solid there. I'm just going to throw one into the mix, and I might come to DJ just quickly about this before we move on, which we've got to, because we've got some big races coming up for you as well. Jackajaro, DJ, is a horse that when he came over to Ascot for Trials Day, went onto my eye catcher's radar. Hasn't done much since, but the connections have horses that can travel through these races and eventually come up. I will have a little bit on him.
Yeah, Jackajaro ran in that Jasur race, I think it was the Commonwealth Cup trial, and didn't get much luck in running at all. Jackajaro was one of these horses. I think anybody who backed Jackajaro at the Galway Summer Festival last year probably still haven't got over it yet, because it was just remarkable stuff. Looked all over and then started hanging out towards the middle of the track, and Portland ended up getting up to beat him. But he's one of them ones where so many people watching this show will be saying, my God, Jackajaro, he's been in my tracker for ages. But you just wonder, a race like this, is it a little bit too much for him? But I certainly couldn't put anybody off back in a Meachway, or maybe 3 or 4 place or something like that. He'll probably be in the mix.
Yeah, you've convinced me to do that, because he's just one of those travelling horses that will just maybe just have a say. The harder they go, and maybe the better a race. We'll see how it jumps such a lot. Anyway, shall we move on? That was the Sapphire Stakes, done on a range of tips for you. Good to have DJ with us, because we're now going to switch to some summer jumping. And Boombourne, well, you referenced him for Team Skelton at the top of the show, Jamie McBride. This is red flag time at William Hill.
It is. He's the worst of the day. I thought we had a few months respite from these Skelton gambles and handicaps. And just going back to Champions Full Gallop, it's good. It's a good job I wasn't mic'd up during Langerdan's Curragh Cup, and that's for certain. But punters obviously think this is another one who's going to take a massive step forward for going into a competitive and valuable handicap, and we'll be delighted to get him beat. We are 5 places, so you'd expect there's plenty of business around. Some at bigger prices that have been backed are Soul Icon, Paris Encores has been good money for this morning, and one of the big prices I think Paul tipped up is the Big Lens.
There's just a great image popped into my head then of Jamie McBride getting on his fighter pilot helmet and getting in this whenever he sees a Skelton gamble. We're in the middle of July and we've got a Langerdan reference.
I just thought though it would be great for the Champions Full Gallop to see Jamie on his hands and knees,
That's what we want, isn't it?
For mercy, yeah. Absolutely.
Let's get some William Hill action. Let's do it with the bookmakers. And let's face it, that's what a lot of people want to see. Well, we might be seeing it again there with Boombourne. Lead the way, Poste.
It's glaringly obvious, isn't it? The Chase debut was fantastic over the trip, and then the 2 sighters back at 2 miles, as in probably conserving and protecting what they had whilst getting the match practice that's required. I can see it all day long. I've not gone with him, but I wouldn't put anyone off, because I think we've seen time and time again with the yard, when they set their aim on something, they are very, very rarely wide of the mark, are they?
Yes. They still got 2 in here as well. I can't remember.
Yeah,
there was
they have.
One,
Yeah, Risk in the Ground.
Yeah. Who I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah.
Go and check out the
again, though, it's
Kevin
one of those
Morley.
situations, though, isn't it? Like, the problem is he is interesting, but if they've got the other one that Harry's on...
We're talking about Ryan Moore all of a sudden, aren't we?
You're kind of thinking... The other one really can't win, can it?
Well, say to Bridget Andrews, you should know better than anyone that can work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I'll take that on board.
And I think the Risk of the Ground is improving. Like I said, the excellent Kevin Morley, who does the trends in your paper every Saturday, most of them anyway. There's some big ticks for this race. Who got G's tick?
Boombourne. Yeah, I can't wait to see it. Can you see Jamie down on his hands and knees?
Helmet being thrown across the office.
Oh, I can just see it. And a lot of the punters will be loving it at Market Rasen. Another Skelton good thing. They're so good in these handicaps, aren't they? I mean, it's so glaringly obvious. And it's glaringly obvious, but they just win, don't they?
And you're getting 4 places then, G. You're happy with that?
going up, back up in trip after run over 2 miles last time. He's
been whacked, hasn't he?
Was it was it Megan Nichols, I think, or one of the Nichols lot was in the paper today saying how highly they rate Matterhorn.
Yeah.
It was the horse that Boom Bourne was second to last time over an adequate 2 miles, going up to 2.5. Big field, you can just see it, kind of.
One of the Nichols lot.
One of that.
Matterhorn runs
There's
on
a few of
Sunday,
them. Georgie,
does Matterhorn not run tomorrow?
He runs tomorrow,
Yeah, so,
Matterhorn,
yeah.
But you can see it, can't you?
Matterhorn.
Just going to be coming to the third last. Skelton's going to be double and full. Jamie's going to be going like this.
Who's feeling this? It's summer jumping. It often comes up to summer plate, doesn't it? Everyone's just like, right.
Let's get the glasses on him. We need to darken him up a bit. You know,
The mood's lit up a bit because you're excited about this.
I'm excited about this.
All right.
I'm excited about jumping in July.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's not too far away from Galway, is it, DJ? Is that why you had a couple of weeks off, stealing yourself for that trip?
No, I wasn't actually off. It was my day off, so I had a Saturday off. So I actually haven't had any. I'm actually on holidays next week. Yeah, that will be. And then I'm back. It's like a prep for Galway, because you need a week's holidays to prep for Galway, because the whole liver and everything needs a break before Galway. Yeah, sure. Look, this is one of these races where it looks blatantly obvious before the race, and it'll probably look blatantly obvious after the race, I thought. But like, just even to put prize money in perspective here, like the race at Worcester over 2 miles that Matterhorn won was worth just over $6,000 to the winner. This is worth over $56,000 to the winner. So you'd be surprised if it wasn't in Dan's head for quite a while, this race. And as you said, back to 2 miles, sharpen him up, and then be ready to explode when it steps up and trip again. I just thought he'd be extremely hard to beat, and I know he's skimpy enough at the moment, but like it's still a backable price. Like, you're not talking about something ridiculous like 7-4 or 15-8. He's still a backable price, and I think he'll probably win.
Oh, I love this. Absolutely. It took the summer jumps race to get us all going.
Like, it's not something you'd say about Dan Skelton regularly, but like, he is hungry for this title, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And he's 200 grand cleared. There's a lot of money on offer today.
Have you spoken to him about it recently?
What, he's hungry?
Is he still as frothing and like, you know?
He's still hungry, don't you worry.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Not in the rest of life. He doesn't go hungry often, but he's hungry for the title.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of money on offer.
All right, okay. Boom Bourne still backable is the line from DJ. The team are agreeing on this. Cam on Jamie McBride, please, at around about 3:20 this afternoon. We'd love to see it. All right, let's move on. Super Sprint time, I believe, comes up next. Penultimate preview time on Saturday. It's the big race at Newbury, that's for sure. And another rock-solid favourite here is It Ain't Two, who bumped into an enlisted company at Sandown last time up, not that long ago, of course. Hugo Palmer's filly is all the rage still, Jay?
Yeah, another one. Theme of the day at the front end, really solid, and I think this horse has got all the ingredients to be a key horse of the day, really, given that it's sort of one of the last races on ITV. The kind of price he is, he's not too short, so it doesn't put off lots of punters. So I think there's every chance it's going to be a horrendous result race time. The other one for money, the other one at bigger prices for money is Miss Collada, the Hannon filly that he's talked up in his blog. She was as big as 25, I think, early in the week, and she's just sneaked into single figures now.
Well, this, of course, is the Hannon's race, isn't it? Lyric Fancy, all those years back. It's got a good history. Basically, Richard Hannon invented this race. Richard Hannon's senior now, as we might know him. Okay, and Richard continues in very good form. Rosalian upcoming. Right, what do we like here? I'm going to go first, if you don't mind. I am seeing the ball big here. It Ain't Two. I didn't need much persuading, and then I looked at Kevin Morley's excellent trends column. And it was enough to I wanted to see about the draw. That's why I went there. You might want to do the same. 10 out of the last 10 have got to be double figures, right? And there's a reason for that. And they all sort of congregate that way. They don't really want to know the rails anymore at Newbury, do they? Either side, especially you used to come near side. It's not really a messy race. You can get a bit too far back in it with Oisin Murphy on. I don't think we're going to get that. Her main rivals are all drawn low, or most of them. And I think this is going to be an absolute whack in the sack and satchels of bookmakers. I was going to go somewhere different with that. I saw Poste's face and he saved me from professional suicide, which is marvellous. All right, It Ain't Two for me. Posty.
Yeah, I'm going high as well. Miss Collada for me, as in, again, I'm surprised to see her as short as this now. She was a lot bigger. Like Jay said, I think she was bigger than 20s earlier in the week. She's got a likeable way of racing. I mean, the form at Newmarket behind Mountain Breeze isn't bad form at all. She won her last 2 starts. Richard Hannon's won 4 of the last 10. She's his only representative in the race.
Yeah.
Tom Marquand's on board. I thought she was very interesting.
Remind me the owner of these colours. You got your paper open. I can't remember.
Jonathan Palmer Brown and Jim Horgan.
Yeah, okay. They've had some very good horses over the years with Hannon, that's for sure. And this has probably been the plan, I would imagine.
Well, then again, he did say in his blog that they were thinking Ascot and they bypassed Ascot to come specifically for
very
this.
valuable prizes. Yeah. DJ, you can get a very mixed bag in this race. Is this a race you've had much success in the past?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's one. I think, wasn't it Relief Rally won it last year? I think she was really short. I think she was evens or something like that. But yeah, I was a big Relief Rally fan. You're going to have to help me out with the pronunciation here with the horse I fancy. Is it Vingegaard or is it Vingegaard? I'm not sure. But I think it's Vingegaard for Artie Watson and Holly Doyle. Like, he only won a novice stakes, I think it was. I'm not even sure if it was a maiden or a novice stakes. So I think it was a maiden at Chepstow. But the second horse, Cayman Tie, has now rated in the 80s and has won since and ran really well a couple of times since. So the form of that Chepstow maiden mightn't actually be too bad. And it was in the Windsor Castle, where halfway I was like, what on earth is this yoke in the green? Because he tanked through that race as though he was just the fastest horse with natural early speed in the race. He looked like one of Wesley Ward's for the first half of the race. I was like, what on earth is that? Now, he did get tired in the closing stages and kind of got swamped a little bit. But he still finished, I think, second in his group. And it was kind of inevitable from maybe 2 out that the near side were in front. And, he was never going to win. But I thought that was a really, really solid effort from a sprinter that looks to have loads of natural pace. And, straight afterwards, I was thinking super sprint for him. And here he is. Holly Doyle is booked. And if you get a chance, just look at that Windsor Castle again, because, at halfway, he's the one that pokes your eye out. And, I thought he was very, very interesting against the Jolly.
Holly Doyle in the plate, another big bonus there. We've just turned into schoolboys here.
I thought DJ was going to say, he sounds like the fella that plays up front for Norway or something like that.
Vingegaard. Is it Vingegaard, I want to say?
Vingegaard, apparently.
Is it?
Tom Teagle told me this. Apparently, he was a cyclist.
Tom would, of course, know this.
Yeah, and Tom obviously is big into his cycling, and he was a really good cyclist. His name was Vingegaard.
So DJ's sort of onto something here. It's actually unpronounceable.
Yeah, I mean, you would never have guessed.
Who's commentating there today? Horsley, probably. We'll have to take it from him. But massive chance, and DJ's not alone. A lot of people thought that I spoke to was like super sprint after that run. Were you the same?
No, I've already given mine. Miss Colada for me.
Oh, yeah, sorry. For you?
Pont Neuf.
Ah, Eve.
Yeah, Eve, won well. Beat Casella, who was well bred and went off favourite for the Queen Mary after winning next time. Then Pont Neuf ran at Ascot too, ran awfully, beat only one home in the Windsor Castle. But after the Salisbury race, Eve said, super sprint.
She always nicks a big 2-year-old race every year, doesn't she? I don't say it with any sort of surprise or... she always nicks one. I thought it might be at Ride Ascot actually with this chap.
But if he comes back to that Salisbury form, he's got a big chance. And Eve said after Salisbury, she said, "This will win the super sprint."
Yeah, again, I covered that race. Did the comments in running for it. He hit a flat spot and then stayed on strong, didn't he?
Yeah, they came clear those first.
And of course, he beat the Chivy Park horse that was gambled on.
He ran a shocker in the Windsor Castle, though, Gerard. I really fancy him to run a big race in the Windsor Castle. He was the first horse beaten. I think he owned. Did he finish last, or he could have finished second
Pretty
last?
Much,
he was beaten the length of the straight. I was a big fan of him at Salisbury, but I thought that was a shocker at Ascot.
So you're forgiving, which you are often. You're better than a lot of us at that.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know, with that Pont Neuf run, it's like forgiving the missus for cheating on you 10 times rather than once. Like.
Yeah, a couple is fine, DJ, is it?
In the sack or whatever.
I was about to say we'll go back in, but we better move on very, very quickly indeed. All right, okay, that's a super sprint done then. All right, and okay, we move on to the craziest market of the day, says DJ, and Jamie McBride sort of led with that rhetoric. Just to put in a little bit of context and lift the fourth wall, if you like, which everyone loves us doing out there. We were messing around with the boost a bit yesterday, which is what happens on a Friday, guys. The production at William Hill get together and they look what they might do. Jay, you play a big part in that. And the market began going so haywire that we just stuck with content. But there were other ways potentially of looking at it. It's been that crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, my original plan is I thought front three in the market were beatable, and we'd boost them all and give ourselves a chance of getting a result. So that would have been Content with Port Fairy and Lope de Lilas, but they both drifted to such a big price that we can't afford to boost them basically from 12 to 20 or whatever. So we're just sticking with Content. It has been a crazy market over the last sort of 24 hours. Like I said, I guess a lot of people like me just looked at the front end and thought they seem beatable. What should we find to beat them? The most popular one's been Hanalia, as you mentioned, was price-wise.
Yep.
Keith put up. Purple Lily's been really strong. You Got To Me, which Johnny Dineen's put up. They've all halved in price. Like I said, it has been a very, very volatile market.
Yeah, okay. So, and not just because they got out to 20s or whatever, but because they were the top three in the market. It would have been quite attractive for you guys to maybe have a triple bet in one or whatever. So Content is the boost, DJ. A lot of people will be looking at Ryan Moore, just gets it right?
Yeah, well, sure. Look, I did a column on it today, and I couldn't believe it. I know it was, at the time, I think it was maybe 5-2 Port Fairy and 5-1 Content, but I just thought Port Fairy was your typical Ryan Moore ride in a Group 1. Ribblesdale winner, stays the trip, will be prominent, will get first run, and she had Ryan Moore written all over, I thought, rather than going for a really keen filly who's never ran over the trip, who looks extremely tricky in a race, especially in her first couple of starts this season. Yes, you could argue she's the highest rated filly in the race, and that piece of form behind Blue Stocking and Emily Upjohn is the strongest piece of form. But she was ridden to run well that day. She wasn't really ridden to win. She was ridden to run well. And to me, that's why she ran so well, because she was ridden to run well. I was really surprised. And then I said to myself, okay, obviously we know I'm an idiot, but is Ryan Moore an idiot? Like, why did he do this? So I went through the stats, and I went through the last 3 seasons, and in the 33, the one word number I can't say, the 33 Group 1s that Aidan O'Brien has won in Ireland and Britain in the last 3 seasons, Ryan Moore has been on 32 of them.
Wow. So
he's only got one that he hasn't been on, and that was when he rode Save the Last Dance instead of Warm Heart in the Yorkshire Oaks last season. So look, it's not quite. I made the comparison with Willie Mullins, and I said that Paul Townend has ridden 21 of Willie Mullins' last 33 Grade 1 winners. There was bumpers in there, and there was JP McManus owned horses who Mark Walsh rode. So that's probably a little bit unfair, and I said that in the piece. But Danny Mullins still did ride 6 of them, and I think Daryl Jacob rode one as well when the horse won at Naas. But it is astonishing that he's ridden 32 out of 33 of the last 33 Group 1 winners. So, and then I wrote the column, and then I was obviously doing the preview, and I rang Aidan O'Brien for the preview quotes, and I said, God, Aidan, I was really surprised that Ryan is not riding Port Fairy. And when I got off the phone, I was like, God, I really shouldn't have written that column, and I really shouldn't fancy Port Fairy as strong as I do, because Aidan was very, very sweet on Content. He said they were basically blown away by a run in the Pretty Polly, that Ryan hopped off her and said he couldn't believe how well she came home. On Breeden, she's not guaranteed to get the trip, but I think they thought the way she came home that day in a pretty strongly run affair, where Emily Upjohn kicked quite early, that she came home. So Aidan was pretty keen. He said they're both in good form, but I just got the impression from him, and obviously Ryan has picked her as well. Or, I'm sure Aidan has a massive input into what Ryan rides. Yeah. So if Aidan is putting Ryan on them, or Ryan is picking them himself, whoever's doing it, said they're doing a pretty good job of late. But look, I just thought Port Fairy was really solid. I thought the Ribblesdale run was, she was there to be got at, and she stuck her neck out and won. I think she's getting better, and but the market suggests she cannot win, because she's out to an incredible price now. I think she's out to as big as 8 on the exchanges, and I think Jamie said she's maybe 7-1 with you guys. So I just think she's really solid. I think Wayne Lorden will sit, second or third. I think he'll get first run at You Got To Me, and I think at that price she's a cracking each way bet, Port Fairy.
Coupling seems to be a bit of a thing on this show this morning, and it sounds like DJ might be coupling the two now. You got 4 places in, DJ. Will you, after speaking to Aidan, I think this is what a lot of the viewers might want to hear, would you be astonished if she was at the top 4?
Which one?
Content.
No, I don't fancy Content. Aidan really does, so that's what's put me off. I just think with Content, like, you have a filly that's extremely keen, that's going to have to be like cuddled, as I said in my piece, covered up. She's going to have to get the gaps. So much has to go right for Content to win. I don't fancy Content. I just think from an each way perspective, I see 13-2 there on the screen, Port Fairy. I think from an each way perspective, I think Port Fairy is great value at 13-2.
All right, okay, there you go. Because a lot of people will be looking at that, hearing that Aidan's so sweet, and looking at the 4-1, 4 places. 4-1's bigger than I thought she might be in this race. It's almost like she's a little bit bigger. Well, I don't want to say a worrying drift or whatever, but with the others going the other way, I thought that she might be now even sub 3-1 potentially. So she's 4-1. You're getting that. Of course, wherever Port Fairy goes, Lava Stream should be there or thereabouts. From a massive race in the Ribblesdale that was going to get back up on the line. And then you've got some French form as well. And we've got this Willie Mullins, Wathnan by Loppy Delias, who is absolutely fascinating. Can't get rid of her. Poste.
I mean, I'd be honest, I couldn't have Lope de Lilas on my mind personally. I think, the maiden was impressive, but it's more driven by connections, isn't it? I would imagine. It's
a fascinating horse because I was going to ask DJ about this, but we'll sit with you on this. Because at Galway, she was made favourite to beat some very good horses.
Yeah.
Whilst they're wearing the mum's colours, and all that sort of thing. So it was always likely to be bought. It's obviously very, very well regarded. And here is Willie having a crack. So could have gone.
Would you have liked to have seen her a run in between, though, or not? Like between winning that maiden and pressing
maybe not. I agree. It's a
big step up. I mean, for all that, she's intriguing. Then there's the history with Willie's father winning it with Frankie. Vintage. What was it called?
What was the horse called? Vintage something.
Vintage Tipple.
Vintage Tipple. Thanks, DJ. For me, I like War Chimes for David Manoussier.
Third in our Oaks.
In our Oaks, and I felt like she didn't really handle the track. She had the challenge wide. I thought this track, with more of an emphasis on stamina, would suit her. I think ground-wise, she's pretty versatile, and I thought she was interesting just because she's a pretty big price in what looks. You'd have to say it's so wide open, this, isn't it?
If there is one trainer, that deserves to win,
exactly, he's been so unlucky. Yeah.
It's got to be David, isn't it?
David Manoussier.
David Manoussier.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I guess he's not won one, has he yet? Is it? What's that horse called?
Someway went extremely close.
Yeah, Someway, that's the one. Yeah. I guess so.
Tanfana went extremely close. Probably should have won.
Yeah, probably should have won. Fair point. I just hope Mullins doesn't win this. Oh God. I thought we'd get 6 months off of Mullins, and here he is, he's stealing the headlines. And
Mullins doesn't miss, was the saying.
Oh, Mullins doesn't miss. Oh, if Mullins wins this, we might as well all go, mightn't we? Anyway, I fancy Hanalia.
You're with Keith?
I must admit we don't agree on too many selections today, but Hanalia is the one that we did agree on. I just thought that she's obviously an Aga Khan filly. Aga Khan had the winner of the Oaks, didn't he? Similar sort of type, coming in unexposed. 3 runs to Johnny Murter, only made a debut in May. Really strong at the finish last time out, and ace in the trial for the race. Looks certain to improve for a mile and a half. And if there is a star in the race, it's probably Hanalia. Port Fairy is a really, really likeable filly, and I really love her. I backed her at Chester, and she stays. She's got a great attitude. But she's not a Group 1 filly. Surely, DJ. She's not a Group 1 filly. Hanalia looks a Group 1 filly to me.
All right, OK. We're kind of getting on the hour now, guys, so we're going to wrap up the Saturday previews there. A wide open Irish Oaks. We've got one more to come for you, and this is... Now, I wonder, DJ, how you'll be looking at this. We'll get the market for Jamie McBride first, but I'm fascinated. Now the market is screaming that Vauban is the likely winner of this coming up. It's a fascinating clash, Jamie.
Yeah, this one's split pin in the office. We had some votes for Tower of London, some votes for Vauban. It does look a bit of a match unless Shamida's sort of ready to go and has improved a little bit. The rest look up against it, against the big two. And like you say, Vauban is the one punters have sided with. He was as big as 5-2, and he's now into as short as 5-4.
It's Curragh Cup time then, DJ, having sung the praises about Vauban at a big price. I remember you doing during Royal Ascot week. Are you going in here at 5-4? I mean, turning into the straight, DJ, it was a case of, wow, he's a massive danger. You didn't quite see it out.
Yeah, I was in Ascot. We're blessed. The press box in Ascot is on the 3rd floor of the grandstand, and it's about, 100 yards from the line, and it's just the most glorious place to watch a race. You couldn't watch it any better. And I was in the ground, and obviously I was talking nonsense about Vauban for ages, saying that I thought he was the wrong price in comparison to Kyprios, and wrote about it and spoke about it and told plenty of people about it. And just as they turned into the straight, I turned around to, I'm trying to think of who was beside me. It could have been Lee Motterset or somebody. And I go, look, I told you, didn't I tell you? Like, he's absolutely tanking, he's going to win. And then it was just like, oh God, he just stopped It looked to me like he just was a blatant non-stayer. But it's hard to believe if you stopped that tape. I don't know if we even say tape anymore, but if you stopped the tape, you know, 2 out, and you were told that the horse in pink, who's absolutely tanking, was to end up not finishing in the first 3 and getting beaten 9 lengths, you'd say, oh my God, what happened? Did the saddle slip or something go wrong? Like, he was knackered. It just worries me how much that took out of him. There's 2 things that worry me here. How much that took out of him, the Gold Cup, and secondly, that his ultimate aim is once again the Melbourne Cup, because they really think they've unfinished business there. I know a couple of things they want to tweak this year for the Melbourne Cup that they wish they did last year, and they want to get him back there. So when you've got a main aim that comes in November, he's after having a real hard race in the Gold Cup. For me, I think he still could win. Tower of London, you know, I'm here, I know you're in glorious sunshine. I'm about an hour from the Curragh and it's been raining here all morning.
Right.
So I'd worry for Tower of London if that rain, I know they got 2 mils overnight and it's now officially good. They're due to get a little bit more kind of drizzly showers for the next couple of hours. So I would worry if the rain got into the ground in the Curragh. That's, I'd say, why Tower of London is a little bit on the drift. But it's your ultimate no-bet race for me, because I'm a massive Vauban fan, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tower of London won this one. So, yeah, I'm going to sit this one out.
Yeah, you could talk yourself out of it when you start thinking about future targets and weights and handicaps and stuff, couldn't you? That's mind-blowing. I think why go to a Gold Cup if you want to win a Melbourne Cup? But you're right. Everything that DJ says is right. Interesting about the rain there, of course. Tower of London was dreadful, G, wasn't it? York. Yeah. It had to be too bad to be true, though.
Yeah, he was favourite, wasn't he, that day as well? I think the markets actually could be wrong here. I think it's actually a lot more competitive than the market would suggest. The market's saying it's a complete match between Vauban and Tower of London. I don't see it that way at all. I think there's some real dangers down there at bigger prices, one of which being Gaspar de Lemos, the 3-year-old. There's a couple of 3-year-olds in there of Aidan O'Brien's who, 3-year-olds have got a really good record in staying races at this time of year, particularly in handicaps, maybe not so much in this race, but this horse is related to Santiago, I think, isn't he? Who was a good horse over 2 miles at 3, wasn't he? And he stayed really well at 3. I think you're going to see a big improvement for this horse going up in trip. Wayne Lauden's on him. Now, it's a bit different here, isn't it? Like, you know, talking about Moore and Lauden when they're back in, when they're on horses in the Irish Oaks that are similar sort of price. But here, yes, Moore is on the other one, but Moore's a lot shorter price. I don't mind backing Wayne Lauden when he's on 12-14 to 1 shot. I'm maybe not going to be so interested in backing him when he's on a similar price to Moore. You'd be on the one that Moore's on. But at the prices here, I think he's the big improver in the race, Gaspar de Lemos. Vauban, he's got so much talent. He could blow the race apart, but I like DJ's argument on this. I'm not sure he's going to be fully wound up here.
Oh, man alive. Yeah, Gaspar de Lemos, he looks like he'd stay longer than Joe Biden, doesn't he? He's a proper stayer. Poste.
Vauban.
I think a lot of the viewers will be happy you've said that, because we're looking at now a 6-5 shot, and someone's got to give him some.
He moves like a top class horse, doesn't he? He's a blatant non-stayer. He was a bit keen at York on his first start. I don't see why he won't take this race.
Have they been running him over the wrong trip, Vauban? Should he not be running over a 1.5 miles?
There's an argument to that. But, I mean,
mile 2 they were talking about at one point.
Yeah, Coronation Cup and those sort of races.
Yeah, I could see that.
I could really see him going well.
Because he does move like a top class horse.
He's a quick stayer, isn't he? He's a quick star. All right, okay. That is the Curragh Cup. Let's go back to DJ then, because of course big weekend at the Curragh. You say the rain is coming tomorrow, DJ. We've got, is it the Minstrel Stakes, the Group 3? That's the race that we want to have a look at. What's going to win it?
Let me just get it up here now. The Minstrel is it's one of them races where it's a Group 2, but if you change that 2 to a 3 or even a listed race, you'd be kind of going, yeah, that's fair enough. Look, you have a few kind of solid enough horses in there, like Lord Massousis and Mutasaref, who's a kind of a Group 3 listed race winning machine. I've always thought Pope Master was really, really good. He's let me down a couple of times, but I think on his day, on his game, I think he has the potential to be exceptional. Now, there's a few ifs and buts, and he's so in and out. Like, if you see his form, like 1-1-8, 1-1-5, where he finished second last when he was 5-4 favourite for that listed race at Haydock. But at Newmarket on his return, I thought plenty went wrong, and he was still well on top of the line. I think the Curragh will really suit Pope Master. And if he did happen to kind of get a freebie up front and didn't get annoyed, I could see him really stretching these. I think he's a good horse, Postmaster, and I think this could be one that's going for export even. Yeah, I'm a Postmaster.
Pesky Carl Burke again then, Jamie McBride tomorrow.
Yeah, Postmaster was really, really strong in that Haydock race, backed as if this kind of race was definitely within his compass. Was a little bit disappointed, but he's had a break since. Early enough, but there have been a couple of bits and pieces of money around for Lord Masusis and Mountain Bear. They're the two early ones for money. I'm
glad you mentioned Mountain Bear. He caught my eye for a lot of the Jersey Stakes. He's dropping back in trip. It just makes a bit of sense to me. He's a strong traveller. The Jersey Stakes is not working out well, though. Kukuli well beaten in that Group 1.
Yeah.
In France next time, and Zoom who was 5th. He ran terribly.
River Tiber well beaten.
River Tiber well beaten. So Jersey's taken loads of knocks there. All right, okay, that is tomorrow. That is your race previews done. We've got an anti-post look before the naps coming up. All right, okay, let's get the anti-post up, and it is, of course, going to be now 14th of September. It's actually creeping up, isn't it, unbelievably. So on that Saturday, the 3:35, it will be the final classic domestically, and we have the Ledger coming up, Illinois, as Sam Hart, our producer, ridiculously called him the other day. It is, of course, Illinois. We saw him in the Grand Prix de Paris. Running well. I think Christophe Soumillon was impressed with him there. You were still impressed with him, Jay, because you've got him joints now with Los Angeles for the oldest classic.
Yeah, obviously we've got the entries for this midweek, and it's a bit of a worryingly entry, really. You've got sort of Aidan O'Brien's got pretty much half the field, and my job is to kind of guess which one's the most likely number one at this stage. And I think it will be Illinois. He made some comments after the Irish Derby that Los Angeles was possibly a bit too classy for this kind of race, and they might have stick to 12 furlong targets. So we're under the market price Illinois, top price Los Angeles, and then the other half of it is guessing which ones of the non-Aidan O'Brien horses are actually capable of winning, because there didn't look too many of them. So we're a little bit under Ancient Wisdom, although I guess you're always going to be on weather watch with him. Deer a Mile, I guess, is another one who could potentially go close, but it looks as though it's Aidan O'Brien can win it with half a dozen of them. It's just which one ends up being the number one.
Well, it's often the case, isn't it? Aidan, of course, blankets this race, a future jump stallion or something like that. Los Angeles thought to be a bit classy. Before we go to DJ on a word on that, just a quick line on the all-conquering St Ledger for O'Brien. Is anything going to beat him? I thought
Deer a Mile was quite
nodding
interesting.
at that as well.
As in, like, he was fourth in the Derby, wasn't he? As in, he's your man, Owen Burrows. Like, Camelot's having a really good year as a sire.
Backed him in the Derby. I didn't collect, but I was quite pleased with the run. I thought he vindicated.
I'd have thought like a 16-1. Like, I don't think that's a bad price at all at this stage.
Yeah, okay.
I think that is the target.
Yeah, very much so. He might be sold, of course, but it was a really good piece with the owner yesterday on the website and in the paper.
If it comes up soft, Ancient Wisdom's going to have a huge chance, won't he? Because all he does is stay. He's just slow, isn't he? Every time he runs, he's just slow. He's just running
Joe
on.
Biden.
Yeah, he's such a slow horse, isn't he? But if it comes up soft, he's going to absolutely relish it. But it's such a difficult race from an anti-post perspective, as J Max already said. Which of these O'Brien horses are going to run? Ancient Wisdom, these soft ground, I've got no idea what the weather's going to be like. It's an impossible race to bet in my opinion.
Let's fast forward a month then, DJ. You're making the call to Aidan O'Brien, 25 of them to stab at. Which do you think you'll be asking him about?
Illinois, Highbury and something else at a bigger price. I think Illinois and Highbury are probably the two that's at the forefront of his mind at the moment. I still think they're trying to make Los Angeles into a proper stallion. You've still got a horse who was placed in the Derby, has won an Irish Derby, so I think they'll be keen to kind of push the speed element rather than the stamina element of Los Angeles. The one that I like is Highbury. I thought Highbury was probably the most talented horse in the Queen's Vase. He was beaten a length and a quarter. It was only his second start, or his third start. He looked to me like a horse that was just going to improve throughout the season. And he'd be the one for me of the kind of more fancied O'Brien ones. Just I'm going to give a shout out to one that I've had my thunder stolen. Mutawid of John and Thady Goslins. Keith put Mutawid up in his anti-price-wise column earlier on this week at 50-1, and I was a little bit gutted because I thought we saw something a small bit special at Kempton. It was only a little novice stakes, and you can't read too much into that. But the fact that he's entered in the Leisure, he is, from the people who know what it takes, and they're not idiots like. And here you had a horse who was rated 84 going into Kempton, entered in the Leisure. He's only rated 94 now. It just looks like he's a real slow developer, and I think he's into about 25s now. If he went and won his next start, I know he's got an entry. I think he'll probably be entered in something like the Poste, you'd imagine, or something like that, or maybe even a smaller event. They could even run him in a handicap off 94. But if he did win his next start, I think he's a big player. I just liked what I saw. He's a Frankel as well. So Muta Wid at a big price, but of those towards the top of the market, I'd very much be in the hybrid camp.
Okay, hybrid it is.
I know where they'll run that Mutawid. They'll run him at Windsor in that race on that evening meeting, which Shantou won before he went and won the St Leger. They've used that race before as a prep. I bet that's where he turns up.
End of August?
It's like the end of August. It's an evening meeting. It's called the Winter Hill Stakes. Is that what it's
something
called?
like that. You've got a 3-year-old one, haven't you, and then an older one.
Yeah,
so
there was
they
ran another horse like that as well. I can't remember.
Solid Stone won it a couple of years ago, didn't it? It was a great night.
You usually go, don't you?
I usually go. I might be there. I usually go. Who knows? Strange year. All right, okay. That's St Leger coming up. It's nap time. Before we go to the naps, I've been asked to ask you. This is really rolling back the years. DJ, get ready for this. Sad news about Thomas Crapper passing away.
Yeah. Yesterday, bless him. I think he had a heart attack turned out in the field. He was 17
Look
years.
at that!
17 years of age. Yeah.
You're not smiling there.
No, not smiling there. Game face on. He was a brilliant horse for me. He's a brilliant horse.
Look at that picture. If we look a bit more, you sort of know you're going to win there, don't you? Can we get it back up again? Just watch. Look at that picture. He has got a sort of smile on his face. Look, he's sort of like, yes, here goes the Crapper.
Good branding as well.
Yeah, good branding. Yeah. So look, he was a brilliant horse for me. He was a brilliant horse for the Dickin Yard, and he was a real character as well. With his name and everything like that. So yes, sad news, but. Like I say, he'd had a really good retirement, really happy retirement. I think
he loved Cheltenham, didn't he?
And he loved it. Yeah, he did. He was placed at 3 festivals and he won a couple of times around the track as well.
In all seriousness, he was a pivotal moment in your career, really, wasn't he, Thomas Crapper? That's how you came onto my radar.
Oh, really?
The Crapper jockey.
Yeah. Well, they're the things you remember, aren't they? They're the good horses that you ride, and he was a real
name as well,
horse.
didn't he? Yeah. Robin was he's a massive character.
Yeah.
I'm going to call him the Crapper jockey from now on.
You are the Crapper jockey.
I've been called worse.
I absolutely love that horse. He was one of those that I fancied him a couple of times. I remember was it Puff and Billy beat you one day at Ascot? I think you were just beating in a photo finish, and then I remember
memories.
Really.
The worst one was when Irish Cavalier beat me in the novice handicap. Like we'd kind of laid him out for that race, and I jumped the last in 4th, and then came through to win. And then Paul Townend rode Irish Cavalier for Rebecca Curtis and came winging and won impressive. And he went on to be a Grade 1 horse. So, the one
you
that
get
got
these
away.
horses in jump handicaps.
I'm not just saying this because you're on the show, but it was a brilliant losing ride because I know how tricky he was. Because, I had a vested interest in him almost every time he ran. And that day, I think he went off about 6s in the end. But I remember being on at maybe 14s or something in the lead up to the race. And I used to love that novice handicap chase. Of course, that Plutar won it one year. But I remember that day thinking, you've given this an absolute peach. And then Irish Cavalier just kind of stormed home and ended up winning. But, he was one of mine.
There were occasional punters that enjoyed your losing rides.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
There was. The Blue Point Crapper. Great to get a word from Charlie Poste. And we are going to do a piece, I believe, on it. James Stevens is readying his keyboard to do that. So great stuff, Thomas Crapper. Right, it's time for the naps, everyone. And what's the best bets for the panellists this week? Jamie McBride will give you the boots after I go through. Out of order, one goes, it ain't two. I'm going to go see the ball big in the Super Sprint. As mentioned earlier, Carlo Localsh for G-Rod. Elite status in the Hackwood for Posty. Big Gossy, a surprise for DJ, and Dare to Dream. I guess we kind of sort of got your angle on that, Jamie. You're on a double as well, Makarova. You're going on this massive prices for Gavin Hernon, isn't it?
Yeah, like I said, I wanted to take on the front end of the market, and I've managed to choose pretty much the only horse. The other one that's drifted is Dare to Dream, but I think that French Oaks form just about as good as anything on offer. So double figure prices seem more than fair to me.
Yep, go and check out the replay of that behind Sparkling Plenty. We didn't really give him a mention of the race. She really does cut through the pack late on. All right, that is the Naps. That is the Morning Post for this Saturday. We go on. King George, of course, comes up next Saturday. A lot of people are talking about it as a King George for the ages. Join us for that at 10 a.m. DJ, great to have you back. Nice to know that they do give you the occasional day off as well.
Yeah, I'll enjoy my week off if Big Gossy wins that handicap at the Curragh today. Been waiting on him for a while. He was 16s. I think he's into 11s now. I think it's his 33rd run at the Curragh, but he's down to an attractive mark. So I'm looking forward to Big Gossy in that race at the Curragh today. Good to be back on, boys. Good bit of crack.
Good bit of crack as ever, and go and lie on the beach or whatever, DJ, for Galway. Look forward to that, because Goodwood is coming up. Going to Goodwood?
I'm going to Goodwood on the Tuesday.
King George next Saturday?
I won't be going to the King George.
Are you playing part in this football match that Batch has mentioned? There's a charity football match that's going on. You would have been asked.
I was asked. I can't play. It's my mum and dad announced for their 45th wedding anniversary, so I thought they're coming to stay with us. I can't just take off for the day, much as I'd like to.
Okay, all right. Don't forget there was we'll get a tweet sent out about that, because it's a great event for charity, that, of course, about the ex-jockeys. G, enjoyable time as ever.
Great to be back, yeah. I'm going into hiding now. You won't see me for a few weeks.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Are you off? Are you flying off somewhere?
Yeah, I've got a few weeks in Canada, so looking forward to that.
You'll still be
Yes,
typing away there.
Still be working.
All right, great stuff. G, have a good one. You have a good one out there as well. It's simmering down slightly. Loads of sport out there. Who have you backed in the Open? Shane Lowry, could he do it again? It's all about the Super Sprint, though, and the Irish Oaks today. All the sport. Have a good one.